I'm Tyler Jones, and you're watching the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. On today's program, I'm going to tell you about NBA expansion and how it could have an impact on the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I'm Rylan Stiles. I'm going to tell you why it's important that Isaiah Joe is playing the best basketball of his career.
I'm Jeremy Lamb. I'm going to talk about Cason Wallace and how great he's been doing.
This is Locked On Thunder Squad Show, the twice-a-week show where Thunder talk gets real. No filters, no fluff, just raw takes, sharp opinions, and straight-up passion for the game. The way only Locked On Podcast Network knows how. Let's drop some dimes and squad up. The Thunder Squad Show starts now.
What's good, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome in to another edition of the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network. We got a loaded show ahead as I'm joined alongside Jeremy Lamb and Rylan Stiles. Tyler Jones here with you. We'll be talking about J-Dub as he suffered another injury while Cason Wallace continues to step up. He's been shining. Speaking of stepping up, how about Isaiah Joe playing some of the best basketball of his career? And then our final segment, NBA expansion. A lot of talk about going to Seattle and Vegas, how that could have a direct effect on Oklahoma City. We'll explain that coming up at the end of today's show. Guys, let's jump right into it. Last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder took on the Milwaukee Bucks, the Phoenix Suns. Got to catch it up a bit, a second here. And this is where I mentioned the Bucks. A re-aggravation to the previous injury, the hamstring for Jalen Williams, occurred there in Phoenix with the win last night. He was ruled out for tonight's game against the Milwaukee Bucks. And you look at what Jalen Williams has done this season, averaging about 17.5 points a game, 4.7 rebounds, and was having a very good night last night prior to the injury, scoring 28 points, going 11 of 12 shooting in 20 minutes before exiting in the third quarter. Rylan, we'll start with you here. Unfortunate news for Jalen Williams to suffer this injury, the re-aggravation here after he had played so well the last two games.
Yeah, it's a really tough blow, especially because against the Suns, I mean, he played the best game of his season, and that was a game that looked so similar to what he was a year ago, where he was an All-NBA player, the number 2 scoring option for a title team. His handle was tighter than it's ever been. He was a true jump shooter in that game, which allowed him to open up the lanes to get to the rim. And he really thrived on the offensive end, including getting back to being a playmaker with 5 assists. And he did all of his work in 20 minutes, and then he suffered that re-aggravation. The only silver lining is that so long as this is a minor re-aggravation, you do have the All-Star break here where you're not going to play again until Friday anyway. But that reevaluation date is not a guaranteed return date, so we'll see what that looks like for J-Dub. Obviously, it was a unique scenario to have him even play this week. I think that all of us kind of chalked it up to, hey, we'll see J-Dub after the All-Star break, and then they played him in these last 2 games. That was surprising. But by the same token, while it does suck for him that he got hurt again, if he's 100%, then you got to play him no matter when that is. And it happened to be before the All-Star break, and he happened to also get hurt again. But this did not look as severe as the first time. If you remember the first time in Miami, he goes into the lane, pulls up lame on his hamstring, and just can't move. He just has to stand there. And he really couldn't even go to the locker room initially whenever they called the timeout. At least on this re-aggravation, he drove the lane, pulled up lame again, but he did kind of saunter over to the defensive side of the floor and then immediately walked back to the locker room. He didn't really ever have to stop or pause. So that's at least encouraging, but we'll see what this looks like post All-Star break. This is another injury for J-Dub.
Jeremy, the 2 games back that Jalen Williams played in, 23 points the first matchup, and then 28 points last night. As Rylan mentioned, his best performance of the year in the 20 minutes that he was out there before he got hurt. I would say that if there's a silver lining, or if you're looking for some hope, some optimism of sorts, Jeremy, is the fact that he played so much better coming back this time, comparably speaking, when he didn't look so hot when he came back previously.
Yeah, I mean, I think the silver lining is the timing right now when it happened. It's coming up on All-Star break. You get a little bit more time, and also that it was minor. If it was like bad or he had to be helped off the court, then you'll be a little more worried. But I think he got to be a little frustrated just working so hard to get back. Obviously, he dealt with stuff early in the season. And then he was feeling better and better and better each game. Then this happens. And then again, this little minor setback. But I just think the silver lining is the timing. I think also, like you said, he played well. Like he was, just playing great on both ends. He wasn't forcing anything. He was letting the game come to him. He was getting everybody involved. He was showing, who he can still be, who we're accustomed to. So just seeing, it's a minor setback, but he's mentally strong. He should be fine. And it just sucks at this moment, but it's not the worst.
Rylan, as Jeremy mentioned, there's not a team in the NBA that probably needs this all-star break more than Oklahoma City, with the injuries they've suffered, the day offs that come with the all-star break, and with these guys getting reevaluated all after the all-star break of having some much-needed rest here. This timing could, I would say, worked out pretty well for Oklahoma City here.
Yeah, I think that the All-Star break comes at the perfect time for OKC, needing to get some guys back. And also when it comes to reintegrating some pieces, like even guys who aren't hurt, like Jared McCain, which was a big deal that the Thunder were able to blow out the Suns yesterday because he got to soak up all those fourth quarter minutes. And if you notice, like in that fourth quarter, despite the score being so lopsided, the Thunder were still running sets with Jared McCain to kind of get him used to their system. And now Nikola Topic set to debut today against the Bucks, and he'll get an opportunity to play in this game and then have a full week to digest what has been a hectic week for him, where he plays that back-to-back in the G League earlier this week and then ends up playing tonight against the Bucks. So it's going to be at the perfect time for both those who are uninjured and those who are injured, especially some of the guys like Chet Holmgren, like Isaiah Joe, Kenrich Williams. Like these guys have had to take a step up in their minutes than they're used to playing, and their roles are increasing than they're used to. So those guys clearly going to be battling some fatigue, and so they can get a reset here this week. On all fronts, it comes at the perfect time.
Jeremy,
hold on real quick. Topic is supposed to play tonight.
Yeah, Topic is off the injury report and is active tonight.
Oh man, I hope he get a couple minutes. I would be so nervous right now. My bad. Go ahead, Tyler.
So good. Jeremy, one thing that we've talked about, it's been a hot topic on this show as recently as just Tuesday, was about that number 2 option between J-Dub and Chet Holmgren. Now that we sit here for the time being with J-Dub and Shai being out, what do you think about, for the time being, could be a game, could be a few games, of Chet being the number 1 option right now? What do you think about the offense running through Chet at the moment?
It's gotta run through Chet. I mean, he gotta show why he's the third option. He gotta show, a third option can be a second option sometimes, can be a first option sometimes. That's how big threes formed, because it looked like, oh, whose team is it? This guy can do it any given night. So can this guy. He got to show why he's a part of the big three. He's a legit third option that can be a first option sometimes. So hopefully, he shows, look, you can still run the offense through me. He can make plays for himself and others, because if he's aggressive, getting up more shots, he's a great talent. You're going to have to double, and then maybe he could take this time or this game or whatever to try to learn how to pass out of double teams or how to read different reads, different rotations. So, but he definitely has to play like the first option in order for them to win, for sure.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. And Rylan, who are some of the other guys that you expect to step up? I know we're going to be talking about some of these guys that have played well as of late in our other segments here, but who are the names in particular that catch your eye?
Yeah, I think that in this game, like Chet needs to have a higher shot diet, as we've talked about, and that's a tricky spot for him because he's not a guy who can really create his own shot. And right now, you're missing not only Shai and AJ and Jada, but you're also missing Isaiah Hartenstein, who is a guy that was really a good table setter for them and a guy who can put guys in great looks to take advantage of on the offensive end of the floor. So a lack of creation means that you need to see Cason Wallace continue to step up as someone who's really this past 3 games has done a lot better off the bounce and has done a lot better at getting to the rim and creating his own shot and kind of being more simplistic in his offensive approach. You need to see that continue. I think that this is a big spot for a guy like Jared McCain, who yesterday and on Monday came in the game and quickly put up points. I mean, 7 quick ones against the Lakers, and then 6, 7 quick ones against the Suns as well. Like you need to see that happen and him do more on the ball. I think this game, like he did the last night, where he was taking Mark Williams off the dribble and he was navigating the pick and roll and setting his teammates up. It's going to take a collective effort. It's going to be really an offense by committee, because even as much as Chet Holmgren is individually talented, he's not very good at self-creation right now, and that's what this team needs in this game to overcome Milwaukee. So it's going to take everybody, because all of your self-creators and all of your creators, period, as Isaiah Hartenstein creates for others, all those guys are in street close tonight, and that's where Nikola Topic could have a big impact. You saw what he did for the Blue. He really led their offense, and he was their playmaker whenever he was in that contest. We don't know how many minutes he'll play tonight, but that's another opportunity for him to have a big moment here before the All-Star break. So I think it'll be by committee, and I think that the biggest thing will be if they can continue their hot shooting streak. They've had some big-time three-point performances the last couple of games. That's the great equalizer. Role players typically shoot better at home, although that's not always been true for this Thunder club but this season, but that they need to have a good three-point shooting night to kind of offset the fact that they're missing so many guys.
Rylan, let me go back to you for a moment here. You mentioned Topic making his debut tonight. What do you anticipate his role being going forward? When we talked on Tuesday about him making his G League debut, we didn't know that he was going to be getting the call up so quick to the full-time NBA roster, but here we are. What do you think we'll see out of him in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I think that you're going to see them kind of ingrain him into this team's identity and try to see what he has, and they have kind of sold this as him being a Giddey replacement in the sense of the role. I think that he's a very different player from Josh Giddey in a lot of areas, but the one area where I think that they are one-to-one similar is, if you remember the Josh Giddey fallout, the Thunder wanted to change their approach with him and make him come off the bench and let him, be in charge of that secondary unit as the lead guard, because he can't do that next to Shai, obviously. And to Giddey's credit, he didn't want to do that. He wanted to, in a contract year, go be a starter, and that worked out for him in a big way. And they kind of got a retry here with Topic. So I think that he'll come off the bench. I think that he'll be someone who they can turn to really be a playmaker for them whenever they have all these guys out. But I think that long-term this year, he probably won't have a significant role, and just short term, even this game, they're throwing him into the deep end of the pool. This is really surprising to see that he played not only a back-to-back right out of the gate with the G League, but that means he's playing his third game in 4 nights as a guy who's coming back from all that he's had to go through, and a guy who is still clearly not like in the peak condition of what a player would be if he were to have played this whole season to this point, which is no shot at him. It's just the reality that he has not gotten the time to really ramp up. So I'm very curious how he looks, but I think that the role for him is going to be someone who, in this game where we're talking about all the creators being in street clothes, Nikola Topic is nothing but a creator here right now. Like that's his calling card. That's his hallmark of his game. And he has flashed the ability to shoot the 3 ball. It's only been 2 games though in the G League. So we'll see what that looks like at the NBA level, but he's been an excellent passer for them and a guy who has really created advantages for them offensively. And they need him to do that tonight. And they need him to do that on this roster. So I think that that's going to be what you look for with Topic, but also defensively. Even in the G League, he was a step slow at times defensively, which is totally understandable, but now they're putting him in the NBA. So we'll see what his role actually looks like at the next level.
Jeremy, you're the veteran of this show. Let's get some veteran advice. What would you tell Topic as he's making his NBA debut tonight after everything he's gone through to get to this point? It's an accomplishment, him just stepping on the floor, all things considered. What would you spread of your words of wisdom for a guy that's about to begin this next chapter here?
Like you said, with all the stuff he's been through, just knowing how tough it is to get to that point, I would tell him, first of all, whether he gets 0 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, no matter what, at the end of the night, you're a success. You're a blessing, because for you to be called up and active on an NBA roster after everything, 1, is just amazing. 2, I would just say, stay in the moment. Don't try to get too hype or worry too much, try to whatever, just stay in the moment, enjoy yourself. And if you get that chance, don't worry about messing up. Just play as hard as you can and, lean on your hard work and everything will definitely work out, just the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, that's some good advice there. We got plenty more to come on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Cason Wallace played some really good basketball as of late. We'll discuss that. Also later on, Isaiah Joe has continued to step up his game. We'll talk about him as well as we continue. 1 down, 3 to go here on the Thunder Squad Show. Stay with us. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take your taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. We continue here on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Tyler Jones, Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb back here with you now. And folks, we want to thank you for making the Locked On Thunder podcast your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out the new Everydayer Club. Access to an ad-free audio feed for the Locked On Thunder podcast, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. An invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat for listeners of this show with Rylan. All you have to do, folks, is log on to our website to get all the details. And what you can do for that, folks, is you can click the link in the comments and description of today's video, or you can head to lockedonthunder.supercast.com for more information there and be a part of our ongoing coverage here on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Guys, let's talk now about Cason Wallace. Cason Wallace continuing to step up. Wasn't his best night offensively last night. 2 of 7 from the field, 4 points. But he had 12 points against the Lakers, 23 points against Houston, 13 against San Antonio, and we know how good he is defensively as well. One of the best defensive guards in the entire league here. Jeremy, I know you're a big Cason Wallace fan. Let's start with you on this one. Pretty exciting to see the way this guy's coming along here in year 3.
For sure. You can see the hard work. I feel like some of the plays he's been making, just some of the floaters, even some of he was throwing lobs. He went the double through the legs to a lob. Like, I haven't seen him do that since he's been in the NBA. He took guys off the dribble, had a nice up and under. Like, I feel like some of the stuff I've seen him do the last couple games, I haven't seen. And some of it is because, the personnel right now, obviously people are out. So, everybody's getting to show a little more, get the ball a little more, getting their spots. Because at the end of the day, Cason Wallace, he wants to win. And he probably knows that he could do a little more with the basketball or maybe score a little more, but he knows that's not his role. When you got scorers on the floor and the way you make the biggest impact is just giving it your all on defense, that's what he does. Obviously, he'll get his spot up shots, but what we're seeing now, he actually looks comfortable to me bringing the ball up the court, more comfortable than he did early in the year. So I just think that's going to help the team, just having another weapon to, bring the ball up when Shai just, needs to run down so he can get a little rest, and then you can run the offense through Shai that way. But either way, it'll take pressure off Shai. Just having him being able to handle too, it just gives you another weapon, another way to rest Shai a little bit while he's in the game. So him picking up that slack and just showing what he can really do, showing his hard work, I was happy for him. So kudos.
Yeah. Rylan, even looking at last night, which wasn't a good night for him offensively, 2 of 7 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3. Still, though, his plus minus was 16, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. And we mentioned just what he does on the defensive side of the ball. I think one of the best things you can say about Cason Wallace, Rylan, is the ways that he can impact a game in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, this is someone who you know is going to go out there every single night and give you a massive lift defensively and can take on the top assignments, whoever they may be on a given night for the opposition, play the passing lanes really well, spark transition. So that's all good for him, and you know that that's a consistent elite trait of his. And, you know, when you look around the NBA, especially for these complementary pieces, if you can have a consistent no matter what elite trait, that's going to be a good start. Look like Jeremy Lamb out there. His consistent elite trait was 3-pointers, and you knew how his career played out. Like, he was an awesome role player for his team, and he really provided a lift for his team. Cason Wallace does it by being a consistently elite role player defensively, of always being the guy to step up on that end of the floor. And then, like we mentioned before, I think that I agree with Jeremy that he's been more comfortable on the ball. And this is someone who everyone's been waiting to take a step forward as a playmaker, because he has that in his background of playing point guard in high school, starting out playing point guard at Kentucky, and in the NBA, that's not been what they've asked him to do a lot. And now you're seeing him, I think, get really comfortable on the ball, the game kind of slowing down for him, but also him making it easier on himself, where he's not as wide-eyed when he has the ball in his hands, looking for every possible avenue. You look at that Rockets game on Saturday, which is still within this window here, that Rockets game on Saturday, he just got to the rim. Like, he abandoned overthinking it. He abandoned trying to read the floor and read everybody. He got to the rim, and it was successful for him. Yesterday, the shot wasn't falling, and you mentioned the assist he had yesterday to set his teammates up. I think that he's been a very under-controlled offensive player, and that's led to some success. I think he'll have success tonight.
I think so too. It's been a lot of fun to see what he's been able to put together here as of late, and you know, Jeremy, when it comes to Cason Wallace, the thing that I like as well is we don't ever hear complaints from Cason Wallace or any rumblings outside the building here that whatever they've asked him to do, he's been willing. If they say jump, he's asking how high. Like, that's a good teammate. Like, he fits. You know, we talk about these defensive guards and what Sam Presti's looking for, both on and off the court. What we've seen from Cason Wallace, it seems like he is looking exactly what Sam Presti wants. That he knows his role and he's embraced it.
Yeah, Sam has always, obviously, he likes good players, he likes defenders, but he's always looked for good character guys. Like, everybody on OKC right now, they're good character guys. Everyone knows their role. Everyone legit cares about the person beside them. Like, I feel like it just, you know, it trickles from the head all the way down to the toe, and they literally have bought in. And again, winning it last year, it really showed them, okay, this works. Probably last year it was people that was upset, wishing they was getting more minutes, feeling like, man, you know, I could be doing more. If they had a loss, might would have been like, man, I should have been in the game. But now they realize, like, okay, it's a whole team. It takes a whole team effort. I'm going to play sometimes. I'm not going to play sometimes. And Cason Wallace is just, he fits that mold. He, like, as we're seeing now, he probably could do more offensively on the court. But, you know, he realized, look, if I got Shai over here averaging 30, Jay Will averaging 17, Chet averaging 18, let me do what I need to do so the team, you know, can succeed. So again, when they feel that how they're playing right now wins games, it's easy. Well, I don't want to say easy, but it makes it easier to, you know, set your pride aside and take that back seat sometimes, you know, sacrifice for the man beside you, because, you know, winning is nothing like winning. So, yeah.
I'm going to be a company man and tell you to look at Rylan's coverage over on SI Thunder for all the stuff that he's doing covering the team. And one of the things that his colleague wrote, Nate Aker, earlier today, was about how he thinks that Cason could potentially be a future all-star in this league. Rylan, what say you? What do you think Cason's ultimate ceiling is? Do you agree with your colleague Nate that he could potentially be that someday?
Yeah, I think that might be a bit lofty of expectations to have of Cason Wallace, but I think that Cason Wallace can become someone in this league as soon as next year. That is a really, really high end starter and makes he is like the sicko basketball all-star, where it's just he's not going to get enough votes from fans, and he's also not going to get enough respect from like the coaches who vote on it, because his numbers won't be the flashiest ever to be an all-star. But the people who watch the game, it's like he's an all-star in his role. He's an all-star winning contributor for a team. And I think that can really put him on a massive stage where, it's one of those things where people all understand his impact. They all understand how important he is to this team, but he never quite gets to that all-star mark. And it's really just a simple fact of, we all know this too well. Like the defense is not enough, even though it should be to get into the All-Star game. You got to do a lot of other things, and I think that his ceiling would be the best 3-and-D player in the NBA if he can achieve that, and that is a high praise in and of itself. So it's not as though he is not worthy of praise, but it's just the all-star threshold is a bit high. But if he can really refine his game, especially from three, as he's gotten better this year at knocking down high-quality shots, if he can consistently hit those threes and show more on the dribble like he has this last week while being an elite defender, that's a heck of a player. And if not an all-star, that's a starter that all 30 teams want on their roster.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there. Jeremy, a couple years ago when the Thunder were in the playoffs against the Dallas Mavericks, they faced some challenges going up against Derek Lively. And the aftermath was a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking of Sam Presti, of the situation there where they took Cason Wallace instead of taking Lively, and there was a trade. Remember, Lively was technically drafted by Oklahoma City. Here we are, a couple years later. I know that Lively was all rookie second team in 2024, and where we've seen both those careers gone. I know that it's still 2+ years ago now, but looking back, what do you think about how it worked out for Oklahoma City of going the direction with Wallace and instead of going with Lively like they did?
I mean, looking at it now, it definitely worked out. But say it was the other way, and Lively was on the team right now. They plugged in another defender that's good. With Lively history, we don't know if he would be on the court. He's had a lot of injuries. Yeah, he was a big body, but it's hard sometimes for big guys to stay on the court. And that's just the reality of it. So it could have worked out good. You never really know. But at the end of the day, it's looking like they made the right decision. He's perfect. Cason Wallace is perfect for the team. He's one of the best, if not the best defender in the league. Definitely at his position, his size. Like he's just, he's one of the elite defenders in this league, and he's only going to get better. So I think they made the right decision looking at it now, but you never know, the other way, you just don't know.
Well, and Rylan, if you were going to go back in time to the hot tub time machine 2 years ago when this occurred, Derek Lively, the way that he played so well against Oklahoma City in that postseason, you could argue led to Isaiah Hartenstein coming to Oklahoma City. So then, you start to factor in when you think about it. Okay, they still have Cason Wallace, and then they added Isaiah Hartenstein to the equation. If they had Lively, then they probably don't get Isaiah Hartenstein, and then you're trying to find a Cason Wallace type player here. So they in a sense, kind of learned from what happened and adapted well, it seems.
Yeah, and I think that this is why you never just draft for outright need. I mean, Lively's a fine player. Obviously has the injury concerns, but he was benefited by being next to Luka Doncic, who could just spoon feed him easy buckets. This is not someone who has a ultra high ceiling. He's not someone who changes a franchise with the pick. And I think that with Cason, this is someone who has more skill than Lively does as a player. He has more tools in his toolbox than Lively does as a player. And they drafted that guy, and they went instead of taking just for positional need. They took for future proof. Like you mentioned, they ended up getting Isaiah Hartenstein, who is a better player than Lively. And I think that will consistently be a better player than Lively, as much as I think that Lively's a fine player. I just think that, you take away Luka Doncic's ability to just pour into him. It was a good fit for Dallas before Nico Harrison ruined it, but it was not going to be the same fit for Oklahoma City. And I don't know how functional that it would have been next to Chet Holmgren, whereas like with Isaiah Hartenstein, the reasons why those minutes have been so beneficial to OKC is because not only is Hartenstein a really good defensive center, but he's an excellent passer, and Lively is not. And so I think that when you look at it, they don't complement each other as good as Isaiah Hartenstein complements Chet, and really, even if you take away Isaiah Hartenstein, they don't complement each other, period. Him and Lively, and all that factors into when you make a draft pick. And it was not like one side fleeced the other. Cason Wallace at the time of Dallas' selection would not have fit Dallas either. Like he would have not have fit Dallas as seamlessly as Lively does. I think that Wallace can fit into any team, to be clear, but Lively was the perfect pick for Dallas under that current roster. They didn't know that their regime was going to shake it up so much in just a couple of months later. But whenever you make that selection, though, it was a trade that worked out for both sides. And you end up being really happy with where you're at if you're OKC, especially with the summer coming up where you don't know what Lou Dort's future holds one way or the other. But you play this out in your head of like, okay, well, what if they do lose Lou Dort? You feel pretty good about Cason Wallace sliding into that starting lineup and being the quote unquote Lou Dort replacement. So like you from all angles see exactly why they made that move.
Yeah, no question about it. More to come on the Thunder Squad Show. Isaiah Joe is playing some really good basketball as of late. We'll discuss that. Also, our final segment, NBA expansion could be on the way. How does that affect Oklahoma City? We'll explain as we're halfway home here on the Thunder Squad Show. Stay with us. Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. Sure, you'll want someone who's in-network, nearby, and has availability, but you also want a doctor who listens, makes you feel comfortable, and explains things clearly. That kind of doctor exists, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love without all the hassle. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states, covering over 200 specialists from primary care and dentistry to dermatology and eye care. I'll admit, I've definitely put off doctor appointments longer than I should. Between work, life, and everything else, it's easy to delay. ZocDoc makes the process simple. You can search by specialty or symptoms and actually build a care team that works for you. Stop putting off those doctor appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book a doctor you love. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. We are halfway home here on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb, Tyler Jones back here with you now. Let's talk about Isaiah Joe and how he's continued to step up. Big night for him against Phoenix. Last night, he had 21 points, going 6 of 10 from the field, 6 of 8 from three-point range. Prior to that, against the Lakers, he had 19, 21 against Houston, just 2 points against San Antonio, but he did have 22 points against Orlando as well. Jeremy, we'll start with you here. Isaiah Joe is looking really good. He's on a hot streak. He's on a tear right now.
Yeah, yesterday he shot one of the shots he shot. He got fouled. They just ran right through him. When he shot it, like I knew he was gonna get fouled, and most of the time, like people will kind of try to draw the foul or stick their leg out. He went straight up, straight down. Didn't worry about the defender. He still got hit, but that just let me see, even if a defender is right there and they don't hit him, he's not focused on the defender. He got deep range. For him to be able to consistently just, knock down not only open shots or, open threes, but contested threes. He makes it easier on everybody. Just him being out there, being that threat with all the offense they got that they can break down one defender. You got to bring the next guy. That's when you get everybody in rotation. That's when your offense really get going. Um, that's what you do in practice. You find your shooters, you find where they like the ball, and he's taking full advantage of it. His minutes was up and down first, but he continued to just work on his game, work on his shot, and you see it now. And games ago, maybe 10, 12 games ago, you really saw like they need him. They need shooting. And he's been getting more consistent minutes. And he's been knocking it down. So especially when he gets comfortable, he getting his rhythm, it's automatic. So to see him just knocking down shots, spacing the floor for the whole team, it's gonna make it easier on everybody. So it's a great thing to see.
Rylan, with bringing in Jared McCain and having guys like Isaiah Joe, there's a few guys you can point to if you're in a lull or you need that instant offense that Oklahoma City can turn to, and Isaiah Joe's right at the top of that list.
Yeah, Isaiah Joe's been pivotal for this team, and I think that one of the biggest things, he's playing the best defense of his career, and that's really helped him. You've seen his screen navigation heighten. He's in the passing lanes a lot more, and he's competitive as a point of attack defender for a team that when you get into a playoff environment, obviously he's going to be the guy you try to pull up into these ball screens and get him defending the ball, and that is a guy that you want to obviously avoid, not only because not only is he not as good defensively as other guys, but you don't want to waste the other guys' talents. And so the Thunder are really good at not being forced to switch. And so whenever you have a guy like Joe, who now has improved defensively enough to stand up in that scenario and at least put up a fight to get you back to the spot you want to be in with a Lou Dort or Cason Wallace on the ball, that's a big deal, because without that, the rest of it wouldn't truly translate. But I think that the reason why you feel confident in it translating is because of his defensive improvement this year. And he really has made strides there. Then offensively, he's doing exactly what everyone had been hoping he could develop into as a player. And it's been a process for him, and all these guys have taken strides, but Isaiah Joe, chief among them, of just being a guy that can really relocate around the three-point line. His two-man game with Isaiah Hartenstein has really developed and really grown since those two guys have been together this year. Looking at this season, those two guys post 118.6 points per possession, 77th percentile whenever they're on the floor together. And you can tell by the way that they run those DHOs. Yesterday, Isaiah Hartenstein flipping one between his legs to Isaiah Joe in that setting. And then just the gravity that he has as a shooter. You mentioned that, Jeremy, the play yesterday where he gets the ball from the arena logo in Phoenix, and he's still an available player. You still have to worry about him. Most guys, whenever you see a kick out to the arena logo, okay, another action's coming. They can't shoot from there. Isaiah Joe can, and not only can he shoot from there, he commands respect from there too. Why he got fouled was the Suns had to contest him and had to sprint from the low block all the way out to the arena logo, and they got there late, and they also ran into him, and they also found him a 4-point play. So that's how much respect he commands. And whenever those two guys are together, Joe and McCain, it's been very successful. And you can see it just in what they did last night, where Jared McCain has the ball swung to him. Two Suns jump at him because you can't go up the open three to McCain. But guess what? McCain swings the ball one more time, and it's Isaiah Joe who you've left open because you're so worried about Jared McCain wide open in the corner, and he knocks down that three. It's all been working together for this team, and it has found a newfound spacing and a newfound offense for this club that I think is a big deal. And Isaiah Joe, I think, will really parlay this into a bigger role in the postseason.
Guys, there's a lot of positive things I could say about Isaiah Joe, but Jeremy, I think the one I keep going back to is that you look around the NBA, and I think every team in the league could use a player like Isaiah Joe. Like, if I'm facing Oklahoma City, I'm looking at him and I'm saying, why is that guy not on our team? Like, this is a plug-and-play type guy.
For sure. The league always wants shooting. So when you see, some people can shoot a little bit, some people can shoot, some people can really shoot. When you're somebody who can really shoot, everybody in the league needs that. That's why back in the day when Vince Carter used to, play above the rim. He could shoot, but that wasn't really his forte. as time went on, you realize he getting better and better and better at shooting. If he never got better at shooting, same with Jason Kidd. If they never got better at shooting, they wouldn't have lasted as long, just simply because the league always wants shooting. So when you got somebody like Isaiah Joe who can play both ends, like you say, he's gotten better defensively. Yeah, he's a little small, but he battles. You're not just taking advantage of him. He's able to get around screens. So, and he's also somebody who he can put the ball on the floor a little bit, can shoot off the move a little bit, but he doesn't have to show that. But he has a lot more in his bag than we've even seen. So somebody like Isaiah Joe, you see him knocking down shots and also playing his role. That's definitely somebody who, all 30 teams definitely want, or all 32 teams at some point. We'll see.
Yeah, more on that later. Let me go back to something you mentioned there, Jeremy. You say that there's more in his bag that we haven't seen. What are those things in particular that catch your eye that maybe we're waiting to see more of from Isaiah Joe?
Well, I've seen him. He got an in-between game, the one dribble pull up. He got a one dribble step back. He can step back to the three and knock it down. Not a lot of people can, do both, stand still and also, shoot off the move. He shoots off screens. He got a quick release. But I think him with the ball a little bit more, he don't need to, but I bet if you play one-on-one against him, there's plenty of players that was in the league when I was in the league, and I'll go to their team and I'm thinking, oh, they're a shooter. Like, okay, cool. And then we play one-on-one and they doing all this stuff. And it's like, oh, they can actually play. They just, in the game, you got to play your role. So I just feel like him shooting off the dribble and a little bit of step backs and side steps, I think he got it, but he just doesn't have to do it.
Yeah, I get that. I exactly see where you're coming from there. Rylan, with Isaiah Joe and the way that he can impact a game, I'm thinking postseason, and we've seen it before the postseason, of trying to find those X factors. It's the X factors that make that difference for you in teams that win a championship and teams that don't. That's one guy I'm pointing to where if the Thunder need a bucket or in those situations, like, they're going to turn to Isaiah Joe.
Yeah, Isaiah Joe is absolutely going to have an opportunity to be that X factor. And I think that everything that this season has told us, where he's playing his best basketball at both ends of the floor, suggests that he will have a moment or moments where everybody is, if you're not rooting for the Thunder, you're frustratingly watching this outcome and saying, man, how in the world are you going to beat the Thunder whenever they have J-Dub and Shai and Chet? And then also, here's Isaiah Joe with a 4-triple first half. Here's Jared McCain with a couple tough middies and another 3. Here's the list goes on of guys who can impact this team, and they just have now such newfound optionality where you can throw out there some really interesting offensive lineups and offensively slanted lineups that they even last year as a title team could not do. That's why last year, while they still won the championship, the reason why those 2 series went to 7 games and it was not as easy as the Memphis and Minnesota series was because their half-court offense could get stagnant at times, especially when Shai was off the floor, because they were 13th out of 16 teams in three-point shooting in the playoff field. Guys like Isaiah Joe stepping up, the addition of Jared McCain, that all changes with these guys in the fold. So I think that it is a big deal, and he very well could be a guy who we're highlighting on this show in May, of a guy that has turned a series for the team, trying to really buck a newfound trend in the NBA of this parity era. You think about it, if the Thunder just simply make it out of the second round, they will have accomplished more than any of the previous 6 NBA champions have done. We have not seen a repeat winner since 2018, which is unusual for the NBA, a league that is really not driven in parity historically. It used to be the joke of like, well, they're just going to fly back and forth from Boston to LA to hand out a trophy. And then you can see the run of LeBron, you can see the run of the Warriors, and there's usually these runs of champions. Recently, that's not been the case, and the Thunder have the best chance of anybody to buck that trend.
Final segment ahead here on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Expansion in the NBA appears to be on the horizon. How does that impact the Oklahoma City Thunder? We'll discuss that as we wrap up this Thursday edition of the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. The new year is here, and it's the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, you might as well love how it looks and feels. That's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. Wayfair has everything you need for a full home refresh, all in one place. Whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, or upgrading your work from home setup, Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find exactly what works for your style and budget. I picked up new bedding and accent pillows from Wayfair, and it's completely changed how my bedroom feels. It's cleaner, calmer, and more put together. I love that I could find pieces that match my style without spending a fortune. Get organized, refreshed, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Final segment here on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. He's Rylan Stiles. That's Jeremy Lamb. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for hanging out here with us. And in our final segment today, let's talk NBA expansion. So let's give a little backstory. And before I do that, before anyone in the comments asks, no, the Thunder are not moving, okay? Just put that for the record out there, even though we're mentioning Seattle in this process. Let's make that clear.
I heard they might.
Don't start that rumor. Here's the latest. Brad Townsend from the Dallas Morning News put a report within the last day or so. I think it's going to be an extra great year for Seattle. I'm hearing a board of governors likely to vote on expanding by 2 teams this summer, and Las Vegas and Seattle are favored. So with that, with expansion, I know it's been a long time since we expanded the league. It was the Charlotte Bobcats that were the last expansion team there in the mid-2000s. It does change some things. One of those is an expansion draft where you could only protect a certain number of players. And then also the draft itself, you know, a couple more teams in the lottery and all that. Rylan, for Oklahoma City here, you know, they really like their roster, but you can't protect everybody.
Yeah, you can't protect everybody. Look, this is going to be a scenario where it's going to cause a lot of freak out and a lot of people who have not done their homework to understand how this really works. But for one, let's just say that they vote in these expansion teams this summer. That does not mean that there are additional teams in the league this summer. That'll still be a process that takes 2-3 years to, once that's been approved, to start the draft, to then have the teams incorporated into this league. So it's way down the road, even if it's approved this summer, that any of this would happen. So every roster will look much different. But most importantly, if they conduct the expansion draft as they often have, of just you can protect 8 players, and you can only have 1 player leave your team. So let's say, for example, that Seattle gets the first pick and they want to take a player from the Thunder. Whoever they take, that's the only Thunder player leaving. The Vegas team could not select a player from the Thunder. Seattle cannot select another player from the Thunder. The Thunder off the board. And in lieu of having a team take one of your players, you could offer that expansion team, if they're saying, hey, we're going to select, Lou Dort. You can say, instead of that, what if we just gave you the first round pick this year? Yeah, and what if we just gave you a first round pick and you don't take anyone from our team? That can be a possibility as well. But when you look at it, you also have to factor in that when you're protecting these guys, the expansion teams, they have a big salary for the Thunder, for example, or for any team, for example, they don't get the access to the complete salary cap. At least they previously didn't. Again, we don't know exactly what the new expansion draft will look like, but operating under the previous ruling, that's like 2/3 of their salary cap if they were to take Lou Dort from this team, for example. So that also plays a role in who the Thunder would protect, of who is likely to be selected, given their age, given their salary number, given their impact for an expansion team. So that plays a part too. But having 8 guys to protect and only being able to lose 1 guy, it's not some grand freak out at all. Obviously, any player would be missed, but you can save a lot of guys who you prioritize. And if you end up taking 1 piece away from this team, it's not going to be the end of the world.
Now, Rylan, let me go back to you for a moment here. I think the draft would also be some eyebrows. I'd be curious exactly how many ping pong balls that these expansion draft teams would get in the lottery. I don't know that off the top of my head, but with Oklahoma City having so many picks in the future, then that could potentially dilute, their chances of getting a high pick. How do you think that potentially plays out?
Yeah, so especially with the way that the league has tried to penalize tanking, the way that it's been talked about going is that like you would operate as if these two teams were the worst team in basketball the year prior. So they would then be tied for whatever the best chances are to get the lottery, wherever we're sitting at that point. Right now, we're sitting at a scenario where the worst three records have a 14% chance to get the top overall pick, and they all share that 14% chance individually. You would add them into the mix of they would now have 14% chance to win the lottery. And so it would throw things off in that regard for OKC if they did own a pick at the time of that draft where a team whose pick they own was really bad, and now their lottery odds get a little bit worse. Like that could be an area where things could struggle, but it also would incentivize, if they wanted to really protect one of their guys, they could just say, you know what? We do have this pick from Dallas, for example, who has not gotten this rebuild off the ground as much as they thought that they will by that point. And you know what? What if you just had 2 lottery picks in this year's draft instead of one of our guys? You could do that, and it could help a team flip that way, understanding that, you know what? The lottery probably won't go our way at this point with how the odds are shaping. Let's play the odds here and keep a known quantity and risk losing a player in whatever draft it is. And you'd also have to weigh the pros and cons of that draft class. Like this draft class in 2026, you don't want to give away a pick in the lottery at any level because it's such a high vaunted draft class, whereas you were comfortable giving away a pick in the late 20s. You were not comfortable giving away a pick in that lottery. So I think that plays a part as well. But there are mechanisms where, like, again, if they lost one player from the list of players of the 15-man roster, you protect 8 of them. You lose one player that's not protected in that 8, it's not going to matter at all for a team this deep.
Sure. Jeremy, let me ask you this. When I hear about Seattle and Vegas likely being the favorites to get these expansion teams, I feel pretty happy that Seattle is one of those because people can finally shut up about Oklahoma City and the Thunder taken away from the Sonics and all that. They get their own team. That's a good fan base in everything there. Vegas has been a thriving market. I don't know how much you guys heard it as players about, them taken away from Seattle, stolen team and all that. But I think it'd be welcomed additions to the NBA to have those two markets and to expand the league out west some more. What say you?
Yeah, I would be excited that, definitely those two cities are cool. I'm not a big fan of Vegas. It's kind of too much. But Seattle, I haven't even been to Seattle, but I've heard like great things about it. Jamal Crawford, he's out there. And I know he's doing a lot of good things. So I know a couple other people, Marvin Williams, Spencer Halls. I just know a lot of people out there. So to have a team come back, and also my dad got drafted to Seattle Supersonics. So to see that team running up and down the floor again, and that's why it was so significant, because when I was with OKC, we were basically Seattle. So I'm like, man, my dad played for them, and now I'm here. So we didn't hear it as much or at all about, we stole, y'all stole our team. Like I never heard that until honestly just now. But I think, those cities are deserving. I know Seattle definitely have been wanted a team, and they probably didn't want to lose their team in the first place. But at the end of the day, you got to go where you're loved, and OKC loves their players. So, if it was up to me, I would have did the same thing. So for them to get their own team, now it's like you said, shut up and see what y'all do with y'all team, because, we doing this over here. So, but I think that would make it amazing. It'll be interesting. I don't think it's going to impact OKC that much, but somebody's feelings will be hurt. It's going to be a sad day that you find out, man, we lost one of our brothers to the expansion team, blah, blah. You've seen it in the past. and it's just a sad day, but it won't hurt the franchise to where, you crying because y'all can't win no more.
Now, Rylan, we've seen what the NBA has done to try to make this Thunder Spurs thing a rivalry. I imagine Adam Silver and the marketing department of the NBA are chomping at the bit at the marketing opportunities to try to manufacture a rivalry here between Oklahoma City and a potential return of the Supersonics, I think.
Yeah, I would be stunned if the Sonics get their team back and Seattle gets their team back in expansion, and if that first game in Seattle, the home opener, is not the Thunder. I'd be stunned.
Yeah, I think so. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that when you look at it, it's just it'd be great for the Thunder to have Seattle back because they can finally give away that Seattle history back to Seattle because the Thunder had preserved the retired numbers from the Sonics and not given them away to Thunder players out of respect for Seattle. And they've already said that they will make that change and go back to giving them their history once they get a team back. So that's important also. And then it'll just be fun to have that team back and have that rivalry because while it will not be a rivalry necessarily to the players, it will be a rivalry to the fan bases, and that's always intriguing. That always gives you another game that you want to circle.
Jeremy, you talked about hurt feelings, and I'm very curious. If you're a player that doesn't get protected, and I know that you weren't around, you weren't playing the last time we had an expansion draft, but if you're a player that doesn't get protected, but then you end up coming back to your team, do you take that somewhat personal that, hey, I'm not viewed as one of the top 8 guys that my franchise wants to keep?
I wouldn't take that personal. And the only reason I say that is because that's not worse than getting put on the trade block. Like, if you're getting put on the trading block, that means, please, somebody call, we're going to get rid of him. But OKC, they know their role on the team. They know, okay, I'm not making them top 8 guys. And it'll be a rule at that moment that they have to be available. So I wouldn't feel disappointed or mad in that situation because I've been on the trading block plenty of times and it's like, man, I hope they get off me. But then it's like, it didn't go through. Then you walk back in the locker room like, what's good, y'all? And coach like, oh, I'm happy you're here. It's like, all right, that's the worst feeling.
That's some great insights. Thanks for tuning in to the Locked On Thunder podcast today. Make sure to subscribe and follow the Locked On Thunder podcast so you get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get the Locked On Thunder podcast ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head over to lockedonthunder.supercast.com to check that out, to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure to make your second listen NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA. We got a couple more minutes before we wrap things up here. Jeremy, before these guys head into the All-Star break, just final thoughts on where this Oklahoma City team stands right now.
I think they're in a good place. I'm a little, I don't want to say sad, but I feel some type of way about their momentum with J-Dub being, hurt again. But overall, I think they, just got to keep pushing. They've been doing a great job pushing through all the injuries, and they all know on the team that's something that you can't control. But at the end of the day, they got great training staff over there, and I know they're doing what they're supposed to do to get everybody healthy. So they're in a great spot. Hopefully in a month and a half, they can really be healthy and just getting ready for another playoff run because it's going to be fun.
Rylan, what's coverage look like the next few days on the channel as we gear up for the All-Star break here?
Yeah, going to recap the Topic debut tonight against the Bucks. That'll be a fun one, and then covering all the All-Star events, which has quickly shrunk to just Chet in the Shooting Stars contest in the All-Star game, but also going to stay 5 days a week through the All-Star break next week. So a lot of fun guests, a lot of fun shows, including we're going to run a mock expansion draft next week. So that'll be fun to fully dive into this topic. So make sure you tune in for that.
Awesome stuff, guys. Another show in the books, another week wrapped up here on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. We appreciate you all joining us. Subscribe to the Locked On Thunder podcast, and we appreciate you all stopping by and joining us. More coverage with Rylan coming up throughout the weekend. Then we'll be back here on Tuesday to do it all again. For Jeremy Lamb, Rylan Stiles, I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend, everybody.